Have you always felt like you had a self-confidence issue?
Interesting. I'd say somewhat. I always felt like people are watching me, and I get self-conscious about that.
That's a very ironic thing to do from stand-up.
I know, and I feel like really hopping into it. You ever feel like you're doing stand-up to like cover up for like some level of insecurity or something? I feel like we all are.
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Where it's like I want to feel comfortable around other people. I want to make this feel like a normal interaction. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know.
Where does that insecurity come from for you?
I think like feeling like somewhat of like always the outsider, like because growing up I was like the only like Jew in school. That was the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Where are you from again?
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Okay. What is the vibe of that area?
It's technically the Amish country. Do you know the show Amish Mafia?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, that's where it takes place. Yes.
Is it like what it?
It is kind of like that. It's a hard place to describe. So it's like there is the Amish country, but right like 10 minutes outside of it is like a whole like small town and like small city and like it's a really hard place to describe. It's like a clash of like so many cultures in one place, because it's also like a place where like so many Syrian refugees come to.
Why?
Dude, it's very confusing. I don't know. I think they just like throw them in the Amish country, but yeah, like I grew up like you'd see like several Syrian refugees, the Amish, kind of Nazis, because like it's a very white trash area. You know what I mean? Really interesting spot to grow up looking back. Yeah.
And you felt like an outsider there?
Yeah, because I went to a small private school, not to like it. That sounds like I'm a child of
Affluence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I grew up with some money, but nothing insane. You know what I mean?
Not classic Jew money.
Yeah.
Regular Jew money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, because it was like, you know, when like people, I mean, you're a black person, you've experienced this, but it's like when people say things and it's like, I know you're joking, but are you joking? Because I don't think you're joking. Because it's like,
yeah. No,
yeah.
I'll get to it. Oh, I want to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that would happen all the time. Like if it was just like a few people occasionally, I wouldn't really think about it. But it was like everyone I knew a lot. You know what I mean? So it makes you feel like you don't fully belong. And maybe like I am a very sensitive person. So like maybe I just internalize it and I'm like,
How old are you?
I'm 20.
I don't think. Well, okay. Speaking as an old man.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm 10 years older than you. That's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah.
I think that whatever's probably happening, I think is real.
Yeah.
And I think it's both. I think that when it's happening to you, it's not your fault, but you do internalize it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. No, I think that makes. I get what you're saying.
Like for me with the black stuff, same thing where I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. Johnny Gold, I'm working on it. I'll explain that in a second.
Just a random show.
But I'm working on this where the things that other people put on me for my race or where I was from or whatever, that was on them.
Yeah.
However, as I'm coming into adulthood, I need to understand that I have now internalized what they did, which is not my fault.
Yeah.
But I do have to let it go eventually. Yeah. It's a difficult thing. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to like compare, because I know like people face way worse things, you know what I mean? But I do think everything really, you ever like look at your life and like everything leads to like your first open mic? Yeah. And I like where it's like, yeah, like the need to feel like I'm in control, like I'm in control on stage, if for good or bad. You know what I mean? It's like I'm here, and no one else can really have an impact on how this plays out. You know what I mean? So I just I don't know, does that connect? You know what I mean?
It connects perfectly.
Yeah.
Like I that those insecurities and such, it feels like on stage, for better or for worse, I decided to be here. Like that control thing of like, even if it doesn't go well, even if you don't like it, even if you heckle, I'm doing something that you all, the audience, can't do.
Yeah.
And maybe it's pretentious, maybe it's condescending. I don't know what it is, but but it does. Admittedly, it feels good.
Yeah, because if you do it well, you leave there and you're like, none of you could have done this. Like,
yeah. It's a cocky.
Oh, so much.
Do you? So, it's funny because you seem nervous.
Yeah.
Like all the time. you always do seem antsy.
God.
Like, what do you like? Okay, so like right now,
yes.
Do you feel nervous?
When we started the podcast 5 minutes ago, yeah. I was like, oh, I need to...
You could tell.
I need to put on a show and talk about how uncomfortable I am at all times.
All right.
But now I feel a bit like it's the same for starting a stand-up set, where it's like I need like the first words to come out and get a reaction, and then I'm like in a groove. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And maybe it's not healthy to approach like everyday conversations like that, because I almost do, where I'm like, we're gonna like...
You want to be the entertaining.
Yeah.
Was it people pleasing?
Yeah, kind of.
I
Yeah.
was talking to St. James about that. Yeah, I like. Okay, so like last night I went to the Laugh Factory, and I'm trying to get in this headspace of like, just enjoy the process of this.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing stand up?
Like a little under a year, like dedicated.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I think I'm about 5-6 years in.
Yeah.
And this like comparison thing happens where I'm like, well, that person's been doing it for 4 years and they're here, and this person's been doing it about the same time and they're here.
Yeah.
And that people pleasing and that desire to mold whatever you are so that everyone else likes you is really hard to fight. But in the Laugh Factory last night, I think I did it pretty well. And it was interesting seeing all of the people who got the most respect. On one hand, they were doing it for longer. And the other hand, they felt like them.
Yeah.
Does that...
Yeah, and I think that's like what we're all striving to do to some extent, is to feel like yourself amongst the chaos that is stand-up. You know what I mean? Like you need to... It's a hard... I was having this conversation with people, like with some of my friends last night, where it's like, to some extent, like consciously or not, in any form of like artistic expression, like yourself is involved in it. And you can control how much of it, like Mark Maron, like that is him. You know what I mean? Like an hour of him talking, it's just a mind of like a kind of mentally ill Jewish guy who's just trying to work through shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And through someone like, I feel like me, like I'm very like kind of robotic. Like I have like a scripted, like, here are my jokes. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to break that a bit, but I mean, it's a hard thing of like layers to be to keep between you and people who are just watching you do stand up, and how much you give them of yourself. Yeah, like it's
yes.
Yeah.
Larry the Cable Guy is not Larry the Cable Guy.
Yeah.
And that's the most extreme version of it.
Yeah,
and then I think the opposite of Larry the Cable Guy would be like a Patrice O'Neal.
Yeah.
Who is almost too much himself.
Yeah.
And I think and it's funny because I don't like this guy as a comedian or as a person very much, but Jerry Seinfeld is that weird balance of he is performing, but this is him.
Yeah.
Does that?
No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I'm kind of with you. I don't know what it is with why do you...
Well, okay. Well,
the show's great.
I've admittedly I've never really... I've seen an episode.
Okay. Yeah.
It's him.
Oh, yeah.
When he...
I know.
Yeah.
We're just two open micers shitting on Jerry Seinfeld.
Right,
yeah.
Right. I'm sure he doesn't... I can assure you he doesn't care.
What if he listens, Aaron? What if you ruin your...
If Jerry Seinfeld listens to my podcast, I would be like... Oh, nice. Dope.
Yeah.
Cool. Even people like there's this thing. Oh, that Johnny Gold thing. That's a comic from where I'm from who does actually keep up and listen.
Yeah.
And so he'll probably listen to this.
Gotcha.
anytime anybody listens, whether I like them or not, I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
Like if Donald Trump listened and tweeted about it, I'd be like, "Whoa, dude!
Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't like you, but that's really crazy." But with Jerry Seinfeld, I see him on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Comedians.
Yeah. You got it.
It's a stupid name. No, I see him on that, and he just seems so self-righteous and cocky, and very unlikable as a person.
Again, we're seeing him at $1 billion Jerry Seinfeld. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because like if you look at, I thought that way a lot when I'd see him, and then I look at like the first season of Seinfeld, and it's like all those like interlude clips of him just doing stand-up. He's so much more likable when he's just kind of a schlum who's just doing stand-up.
Yeah.
But then again, kind of everyone's more likable when they're not
at the top.
Yeah. And it's weird seeing there's a weird limit to stand-up. Like, you ever like think about that? Like, because I'm like a huge fan of like John Mulaney and people like that, where it's like he's so big now, and it's like we're all waiting to hear what he's gonna say next, but it's like he's almost arguably like he's gonna do an arena, and we're all like, you're not the same guy from like New in Town where you're just like quirky observation. You know, like
it's hard to be relatable when you have a yacht.
Yeah.
And
you kind of have to be relatable unless you're gonna be like Dice Clay or something where you're like just shitting on an entire gender of people. You know what I mean?
That kind of reminds me of Jack Woods. Did you know Jack Woods?
No.
Comic, he's doing his thing. You guys are around the same age. I think he's 21. And he was talking about, this will be fun. He was talking about Louis.
Oh, I love Louis.
Okay.
We all do, yeah. Do you not?
I do.
Say what you were going to say. I just interrupted.
No, that's fine. It's a podcast. That's what happens. No, but he was talking about how he didn't deny Louis' hilarity.
Yeah.
But he was saying his newest special, he didn't like that Louis was using, he referred it to as the R word, retarded.
Yeah.
And that that Louis didn't seem to learn or grow in that aspect. And that he is still Louis. And that seems to be a double-edged sword. Because on one end, we want to see people grow and change, especially in art. But like we were just saying, can you grow and change to the point where you're not relatable anymore?
Yeah.
And then when you said something that I can't remember.
You see, because it's like everyone's great for their own reasons. You know what I mean? And Louis is probably my favorite comic of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's your Mount Rushmore?
Good question.
Okay.
Probably Louis, Burr, Chappelle, and the fourth spot is hard.
That's fair.
I could throw in like 10 people.
How do you feel about? This will be fun. How do you feel about someone like Bo Burnham?
Oh, I'm not a fan.
Okay. Why?
Because, I mean, for many reasons. I mean, he seems like a very artistic and interesting person, and have you seen 8th Grade, his movie?
Yes.
It's amazing. I was like, this is beautiful, and it's such a reflection of like the times like I grew up in. You know what I mean? But from a stand-up perspective, it's like I almost get kind of. I'm not like a bitter 20-year-old, but it's like he just kind of blew up on YouTube from singing, and you see his stand-up, and it's like I could have written these. Like, they're not. Maybe I'm stretching, but it's like I'm just not super impressed with his stand-up from almost any level. I just feel like there's so many people who are so much better that are like nowhere in terms of where he just kind of toured theaters immediately.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like he's that revolutionary in many ways. But I do think he's like a very artistic and interesting guy that he should have a voice. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like he would? Do you feel like your feelings are in part because it doesn't seem like he could do traditional air quote stand up? Like if it was just him, a mic, and nothing else, do you think he would do well? Do you think he would bomb?
That's an interesting. Like, I don't know if he would. Actually, kind of. Looking at
a mic that we
exactly. He would bomb.
Yeah.
Like throw him up at like the lodge at like 10th. Like it's like, who's gonna listen to
his thoughts?
Yeah.
I get you. I think,
and also maybe that's just a preference thing where it's like like my favorite people are people who, if you threw them up anywhere, they would kill.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's why I think stand-up's awesome, because it's like, it's kind of like it's the closest, like Jerry Seinfeld does a lot, it's like the closest thing to like justice in entertainment, where it's like, if you're good everywhere, kind of.
Yeah, there's a purity.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a real purity about stand-up, whereas I would say, I was about to compare it to writing, like writing a book, in that it's one person's thoughts, and that's it, but then you don't have the immediate feedback.
Exactly.
And I love film, but that's such a collaborative.
Yeah.
You know.
And all my, like, because I go to film school, and it's like a lot of my friends, like, I'm like so grateful to do stand up, because it's like they spend like several months putting together like an 8-minute film that's good. Like it's awesome. You know what I mean? But it's like they have to wait a long time to get any sort of like feedback. And the feedback they're getting is just kind of from like friends and shit, you know?
Yeah.
Unless, of course, it's like, you know, trying to submit to a festival. But it's like every night I get to see if I suck or I'm good. You know what I mean? And it's...
Do you... what is your ideal career situation? Are you a filmmaker? Are you a stand-up? What are you?
I love stand-up more than anything, because it's just such like a natural, like the high you get from it is incredible, you know? But I do, like ideally someone like Louis is like the perfect type of thing, where it's like you can do stand-up and then do your own form of like writing for TV, or your own, like his show was incredible. His show like changed. I was like 8 years old when it came out, and I was like, this guy's a genius, and like I felt like my parents weren't getting it. I was like, this guy is awesome.
Wait,
like,
when did his show come out? 2000.
A good amount of time.
Get the fuck out of here! You were 8 when his show came out.
That I might have been.
I gotta look this.
Yeah, I might have been throwing out. But I remember being younger and being like my parents were just. I have an issue where if someone doesn't... Sorry, I'm really...
Please,
this has to be like the worst podcast ever.
It's not.
But okay. I have an issue like on many different art forms, where it's like, if I feel like my friends and other people in the room aren't respecting what is happening, I almost get mad, or I just internalize it, and I'm like, you guys don't get it. Like if I'm like listening to like The College Dropout, or like watching Louis, I'm like, how are you not... like seeing this shit? Like this is
2010.
Incredible. 2010, exactly.
How old were you in 2010?
I was 10.
Get the fuck out of here. Really?
Yeah.
I was in college.
Yeah.
God damn it. Okay, I'm sorry. Because I really want to get into this. So, respecting the craft. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but like almost any craft. Yeah.
When you start, it's like when you start working on anything. Let's say it's sewing. Like if you work on sewing and you start to learn the intricacies of it, you realize, there's every other surfing has just as many intricacies that I know nothing about. And people that I call them NPCs, non-player characters, people that just kind of exist in the world, don't understand that, and it pisses me off. Yeah. And I don't know where your head is at with this, but I'm trying to not be as angry about it, because it makes me come off like a pretentious douchebag. Yeah,
and I was having like, it's kind of loosely related. Like, do you know Hunter Hirsch? Yes. He's like he's a very funny comic.
Yes.
We were having a conversation about like TV shows that like I thought, I mean, it was kind of like a passing question, like that I thought were like very poorly written and done, and he was like, do you ever like watch a show and you're like, oh, I could have done that better? And I'm like, no, because everything is so hard. Because I thought I would go up to my first open mic and just kill. I'd be like, people want to hear what I have to say. You know what I mean? And you go up and it's like, no one can, like, it's so hard to do everything. And you learn that the older I get, where it's like, you want to try a lot of things, and it's like, everything takes so much time. Yes. And you need to dedicate a piece of yourself to anything you want to do, you know?
Yeah, and it seems like you have a respect for that.
There's
a respect for anybody who can do anything.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. And you seem less aggressive than I probably am, if that makes sense.
Maybe.
You I if I'm working on this. This is a thing I'm working on.
Yeah.
If I view somebody as not getting it not clicking or not respecting the work of anything,
Yeah.
I lash out, and I am working on specifically dealing with that when I'm on stage dealing with a particular type of white people, where
I don't deal with this. I don't.
I will fucking torch the room. I will purposefully go out of my way to make them as uncomfortable as possible out of anger.
Yeah.
Out of this vengeance almost.
Interesting.
And it's not smart. It's like on one end, I think my feelings are justified, but on the other hand, in terms of business and how to make it in this business, if I'm going out there purposely pissing people off, that's not gonna help. And every booker up here is white, so
yeah.
Am I making?
No, you're making a lot of sense.
Okay.
I have several questions to that.
I'm listening.
First off, do you do white voice? Because that's hilarious. Every time I've ever seen a black comic do that. And I've never not seen it and thought that is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I think the problem with me doing it is I don't have a distinct, air quotes, black voice.
Gotcha.
The way I naturally speak, people perceive it as white.
Gotcha.
So if I turn that up,
that's a whole...
Yeah.
This is so many different tangents. I have... it sounds like I'm dating a black woman.
Good for
you.
Yeah.
And it's crazy seeing from afar what I thought racism was to when you see it through someone else's eyes and you're like, oh, it's everywhere all the time. And it's a perspective you can't throw that away. You're I thought I had my own oh, I'm Jewish, people think you know what I mean? But then you see it as some people that don't know I'm Jewish. I mean, it's everyone sees you as black, and you need to navigate through that, and it's such an insane.
What did you see with your girlfriend? What did you notice?
Just microaggressions everywhere. Where it's the way people talk and the way people assume things about you, or will just make passive comments about your hair or your personality or so many things, and it's this is just who I am, and it's really it really did open my eyes where it's it
is a difficult when you it's funny because you only live as yourself.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
It's not weird to you.
That's the thing is it became very weird for me recently. So growing up, I grew up in I'm so sorry, everyone who listens to this over and over again. So this podcast, the point of the podcast is for me to get to know people.
Yeah.
And as I'm doing it, the more I'm realizing I have to keep telling people the same information.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then other people are listening to my half of things being yes, Aaron, we know what happened to you. And but so where I grew up is very, very white. And racism, objectively racist things would happen. I would express hey, this is happening, and everyone would tell me I was being crazy, or I was being ridiculous. I was being racist. I got told that I was being racist, and these are all by people that
it's the Spider-Man meme. All right.
Yes, they're just like that. These are all by people that were my friends, and I considered family in a lot of ways. People that went to my church, people went to my school, yada yada yada. And then when Trump came around, those 4 years were oh man, are you guys not getting it now?
Yeah.
This is really obvious now.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to hold this patience, and then I completely lost my patience after George Floyd was murdered, and I saw the reaction of people. Obviously there was the protest, but then I saw the reaction of the people who were against it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to hesitate with my hyperbole of saying things like evil, but you're evil.
You could say it.
You're evil. How do you look at this and still, feel how you feel about it? And so I think I'm in a place where realizing you have been gaslit to the most extreme level, and then realizing that like all those feelings were totally justified is something that has clicked for me, and so I'm working through that anger now.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got to this point.
That's a lot to process.
Yeah.
No, yeah. No, yeah. I like, this is something I do often. Like, I think it's a part of what, like, my general anxiety thing, where it's like, I hate, like, small talk in general, because I'm like, so when are we going to address our...
Everything.
Yeah. And, like, I feel more comfortable talking about, like, I don't know, like, in-depth issues, which makes me, I think, come across, like when I moved here from Lancaster, from Pennsylvania.
How long has it been since you've been here?
It's like 2 years, but one of them was Corona, so like barely a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people were like, like my friends would be like, oh, Zach's very like strong-minded. Like he comes across like harshly almost. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, it's just how we communicate on the East Coast. We don't like deal with an added layer of like bullshit. I don't know. Yeah. And you come here and people are very kind of reserved a bit more. And even like some things I'll say to people, like last time I was talking to people, I was like, hey, I'm going to go take a leak. And they were like, ew. And I was like, this is just how we talk. And maybe that is weird. Maybe that is.
I don't think it's weird.
But I was like, also I felt it was, I don't know. There's a certain comfort I feel like every comic has in a comedy spot where you feel like you can say everything, and sometimes you cross that boundary where it's like you got too comfortable. You know what I mean?
I think it depends on the comics you're around.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like I'm gonna think how to word this. I'll speak on my perspective and perception of reality, man, and not say what other people are thinking. But there are people in this scene that I feel like do not like me, which is fine. Not everyone's gonna like you. That's just part of the game. But it feels like they don't like me because of what you were describing, because I vocalize stuff that is not, air quotes, appropriate. And then there are people that like me because I do that. And so what I'm trying to do is gravitate more towards them. Do the people that, have you found your crew yet? Have you found like a group of people where you're like, these are the people I fuck with?
Yeah, for a good first like 5 months being here, like I was lost. I was like just like the kid showing up at the end of mics, and people were like, what? Why is he here? But yeah, I think I have in recent, like the Mad Laughs crew, them, and a lot of, I just made friends along the way, just being around, you know.
Who's your crew? Who are your people? Who's your gang, bro? Represent.
I mean, I think like it's like me, Stephanie, Ryan. Those are like just people I'm like with all the time, you know, because we run a show. But then, I mean, there's people who I'll just see around, and I'm like, oh, I'm like very close to you, and we might not even see each other every night, but like, I would gladly hang out with you for like a weekend. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And that's just like, there's countless names fall under that.
How did you, Stephanie, and Ryan link up? What happened there?
So basically, like beginning like September-ish, I literally just had like the thought, like, I just want to get stage time in front of audiences, and I felt like maybe it's just like confidence. I was like, I just feel like I'm ready to just start doing this a bit, you know? So I wanted to start a show, and I was talking with Kyron Horrell a bit. Do you know Kai? Yeah. And Kai's busy doing 5 shows and a podcast.
Yeah, that guy.
He literally is doing everything.
That guy puts in work.
Yeah, respect. Great man. But so he was too busy, and then I've always seen Ryan McKinnon around, but he's from like the suburbs. So then I started seeing him more in Chicago, and I just kind of brought it up to him. And then Stephanie, who I'd see around. I met Stephanie at Jokioki. Do you know? That's Kai's show with Kadeem.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah. That's a great spot. If you've never been there, you should. It's a great spot just to like hang out and like meet people and stuff.
I'm still learning how to do that. I'll write that down.
Right.
I'll get back to you. Okay. Please continue.
Yeah. So yeah, like me and Stephanie did like Jokioki together. So I met her there, which is their show. And we all just kind of saw each other around a bit. And I just kind of floated the idea like, hey, would you guys be interested in making this happen? And we all just decided to do it. And it's been great. Yeah.
The Ryan that this guy?
Yeah.
This guy.
That guy, yeah.
He doesn't seem like he's from the suburbs.
How so?
That I remember seeing that guy and listening to him, like listening to his cadence. He seemed like a dude. If I were to make up my own little backstory of this guy, knowing nothing about him, I would have imagined he was from the South Side. And no, for real, I would have imagined he was from the South Side.
Oh yeah, he does come off. I know what you mean.
Yeah. I would have thought he was from the South Side.
No holds bar. He's like, yeah.
Yeah. And I would have thought he probably. I would have imagined him as like bullied initially, and then learned how to navigate black spaces. Navigating black spaces in a very calm way.
Yeah.
Utilizing his chill to his advantage. I keep using this description, but Jack Harlow energy is what comes up for me.
Yeah.
And like white dudes with that vibe. And
no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And to find out he's from the suburbs is really surprising to me.
Yeah.
Learning how to hang out. Oh, so you started hanging out with people.
Yeah. I mean, I would just I think it's a symptom of like, because I graduated high school during Corona, like when that was going down, man. So yeah, it was like senior year of high school into like freshman year of college was just basically ruined for me. So I just kind of I kind of had like a look in the mirror and I was like, what do I care about? Because like everything that like my parents and everyone was like, this is the best years of your life. I'm like, it's not.
It's a wash now.
Yeah. So yeah, I just decided, it was like really like the summer of going into sophomore year, like the last summer. I was like, I'm just going to do comedy all the time and see what happens. So I just started like hanging out after mics and talking to a lot of people. And that just helps a lot in terms of, I mean, in every way. I would recommend it if you haven't. Yeah. Like,
do you think, so this is your career? Like this is what's happening?
Yeah, at the moment.
All right.
How would you answer it?
How like if I were to be asked?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, it is stand-up comedy or kill myself.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah.
I COVID for you, and this is...
But hold on, can I interject? Because it's like, maybe it's just who I am as a person. Because it's like, I used to... I was like a big baseball player in my youth.
I can see it.
For whatever that means. Yeah. And like I used to think like baseball player or I kill myself. How insane that sounds, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But so it's like I'm very open to maybe just like a certain level of open-mindedness I've always had, which is what led me to try doing stand-up. Where it's like I don't judge anything for like any activity for something like I wouldn't try, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's like I love stand-up comedy, but there's so many other things I also want to try and do. But at the moment, I'm with you. It's like this is the only thing I care about, but I also want to make a short film. I also want to do like a lot of things that like I think are awesome. You know what I mean? Whatever I think is cool, I want to do. And we have such like a privilege with comedy to just do it on a nightly basis, which is why I love it. Yeah.
That's a very healthy way to approach it.
Yeah.
I need to adapt more to that. That COVID life for you, I am going to start sounding like I'm old, but it is like shocking to me. All of this, I think, I hope this doesn't sound condescending, but I don't think your generation realizes how fucking crazy this really is because you're living it.
Yeah.
And I, as a substitute teacher, I'm around these kids with the little plastic things up and the masks and people keep getting quarantined and we do it on the computer and sometimes we don't. And the kids don't know what the other kids' faces look like.
Yeah, no, that's wild. Yeah.
It's crazy, but then I look at them and I see them interacting and they don't. It's like racism for me growing up. It's like, oh yeah, that they're gonna call me a nigger. That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's normal. And so I watch this and I hear about it and I'm like, I'm just fascinated what your generation's mentality is about life, because I'd imagine it's nihilistic.
It's skewed for sure. No question.
What do you think is the biggest difference between like Gen Z versus the millennials?
I think it comes with good and bad, but we're all somewhat I feel like Gen Z is self-starting. We're very self-starting, where it's like we're cool with, because we see that nothing matters and the world's ending because we grew up in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're all like, fuck it, I'm just gonna become TikTok famous. Like some of my friends are like that type of thing, where it's like I feel like we're at the same time a weirdly like fame hungry generation, which is cringy and gross, and I hate all of the TikTok vibe, you know what I mean? But we're also still self-starting, and we think freely, and we're very, we're open to just being like, no one's gonna count on me. I may as well just count on myself.
That's. I agree completely.
Yeah.
How do you guys think? How do you think you guys feel about the boomers?
The boomers.
Yeah.
It's almost too far. My dad's a boomer. It's almost too far to even bridge a gap where it's like, that's why the whole boomer thing started. Because it's like, I love that generation more than mine. I love almost every other generation more than mine. Really? Because I think I just hate, I have like a almost anti-technology stance where I'm like, I just think it's made so many people just become fake and like kind of living for validation. I think it's really messed up, but we all have to kind of succeed to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't. It's hard to compare like my dad's entire generation to mine. But just when I mention like things to my dad, it's like my dad can pay the TV bill, but he can't turn on the TV, and it's like it's very like it's very like, how do I even bridge this gap between us? But it's hilarious because his perspective is so much more raw, and I respect that, because it's like I'll elaborate. It's like I feel like everyone in my generation, even if we're at like parties, we're like looking around like, did you hear me say that? Or am I okay? My dad's just like, my friend's annoying. And like he'll just kind of say it. Yeah. He'll say what we're all thinking. He's a very Bill Burr-esque nature, where it's like, we all saw this, let's just say it.
Yeah,
and you find that more in the boomers.
I think that makes sense I think that makes sense because you guys grew up in a surveillance state. Yeah. Have you seen the show American Vandal on Netflix?
Oh, it's amazing, dude.
It is amazing, and when I watched it for the first time, horrifying. Yeah. Because you remember when they're in the part where they're breaking down the party, and they have all of the cameras at different angles, and I was like,
this hand job in the corner,
the hand job in the corner, all of that. I was like, this is very possible. I mean, it's obviously satire. Yeah. But like, if you really wanted to put the work in to get the angles of each camera and break down a conversation that was meant to be private, you could do that because everyone's filming all the time. For sure. So I think it makes sense for your generation to react that way, and I think it makes sense for boomers to say terrible things all the time because they had no consequence. And as a millennial, I can't fucking stand them. I don't like them because I remember growing up and feeling lied to by them, where they were like, you can do anything, but at the same time, these participation trophies are bullshit. Yeah. And you got to go to college, you can be successful. But when you get out of college, you better work, because if you're not working, you're a fucking lazy piece of shit. And I have a seething anger. I have a seething anger towards a lot of shit, but boomers are part of it. Their behavior disgusts me. The end.
No, yeah, that makes sense. Are you experiencing this? So I was like I was a children's camp counselor last summer, or was it 2 summers ago? But watching how teachers have to handle just children's and COVID, it's absurd. Like there's like 6-year-olds with masks on, and they don't. You already said it, but it's like, they don't know each other's what they look like, and also, what's the point? Like they're already like spitting in each other's faces what is a mask gonna do to protect them from like it's really confusing.
You want my feelings on it?
Yeah, I mean, quickly, yeah.
I think that this is gonna sound extreme. I think a teacher should be allowed to hit a student under certain circumstances, because they're smart and they're savvy and they know legally we can't touch them.
Yeah.
Like, so they know that if I say, "Hey, go sit down," all they gotta do is be like, "Make me."
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I can't physically do that, and you're eating up time.
Yeah.
And like, what, you want me to yell at you? And if I yell at you, you're gonna record it. And then post it and cut it out so I look like a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like, that's the heater. Sorry.
Were you hit as a youth?
No.
No.
Well, getting jumped, yeah, but like not in school or by my family. No.
Gotcha.
It's more of it's a consequence thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you remember when getting grounded was actually, I don't know. Go to your room and there's nothing you can do? Does that make sense? Or did you always have something to do?
I was like never grounded.
Okay.
My dad hit me one time and like cried after. I come from a very...
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah. He felt so bad. He was like, oh, I shouldn't have hit much.
Let me rephrase. This generation, sending them to the room, you don't even send them to, they're always in their room. There is no punishment. Unless you can take away the technology, but you literally need the technology.
Yeah.
And they're savvier with how to navigate it. Like they can. I remember parent blockers or whatever. Like kids could block their own parents from their own technology now.
Yeah.
And so these kids, they behave in such a way where I'm like, you are smart. And that's good. I'm glad that you're aware that I'm glad that you're smart. But it's like they're too smart for their own good. They're too aware that we can't do anything. And so there's a piece of me that's like, no, you should be able to hit them, because there's no other consequence that that can be given to them. They don't care about school because they're understanding it's bullshit, and that it's just putting school on the computers broke it down in its most simplistic form.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you felt it. And it's like, oh, this is stupid. This is really dumb.
Yeah, no, it's so dumb.
Yeah.
It's proven how the amount of money we're paying it's absurd for like just to like cheat on a math test over like online. Like it really is just like our generation sees that everything
is bullshit.
A lot of the structures set up for us to technically succeed on paper are just such bullshit.
Yeah.
And we all know that. It's not like some of us. It's like we're all aware of it to the point where it's like my parents aren't even fully like you can be a YouTube star and make $1 million, and I have to like learn trigonometry. Like what? What are you insane?
I had to teach 5th graders about communism, and I was breaking down. I had to break down the logic and philosophies of communism, socialism, and capitalism. All of them were like, yeah, fuck capitalism. All of them. They're like, fuck that shit.
Eat the rich.
Yeah, eat the rich. You are my comrade. All of them were like, no, they didn't understand that that's what they were doing, but they were all basically like how did I word it? I broke down the philosophies of each. I did the positives and negatives of each, and I said, what do you think works the best? And they were like, the one that is basically communism. All of them. It's really weird. It's interesting.
They have like strong opinions. They're like
some of them don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Some of them are probably, have the screen off and they're masturbating or whatever the fuck they want to do. Yeah. But the ones that gave a fuck were very like, no, communism.
Yeah.
And
that's like the main thing I think the internet has done is everyone feels too comfortable in their opinions. Where you're like whatever I think is right, even though I've read one article.
Yeah.
I see it with my friends on both sides. Like I have a friend who's like very liberal, and he'll like maybe it's because I'm a Libra, There we go. There's a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
I read that once. I was like, that kind of describes me. Where in terms of like, I'm able to like balance things on like hear everyone's opinion and be like, one person's clearly more knowledgeable. You know what I mean? But I have a friend who's like very liberal, and he'll just throw out some insane idea and be like, whatever else anyone says is incorrect. And then, of course, I'm more liberal, but I think it's absurd that anyone could say they know anything about almost anything very confidently. It's like, with the amount of information out there, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of that made any sense.
It
but,
did. And the quarantine, that was, I mean, I don't know what it was like for you, but it was, I think what was good about it was everyone was having a life-altering change at the exact same time.
Yeah.
And it really showed people's true colors. Like, you really got to see who someone was when they're left alone to think.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we get deep on the Join the Journey podcast.
5 years, I'd say hopefully I'm either in Chicago or maybe in New York, and just doing stand-up in clubs and navigating whatever this insane field brings. Any opportunity I'm open to taking. And I just basically hope I'm doing my thing, doing stand-up. I'd probably be working some sort of job. I don't know.
I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah.
And I desperately want to put on socks. I think I'm going to do that. But before I do that,
go ahead.
Where did we meet? And because I remember the first time I remembered you.
Yeah.
And I will explain that in a second. But
All
I'm
right.
listening. Where did we meet?
So we met at Aaron's putting on socks. No, you're listening. Harrigan's is the first time I remember meeting you. Harrigan's, you were smoking a cigarette outside, I think, and you seemed very stressed out. And I was like, this guy, is he okay? And you were like, I'm new here. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that adds up.
It was probably CBD then. CBD cigarette.
Oh yeah.
At the time, this is embarrassing. Hold on. You were saying that?
Yeah, no. And you just seemed very stressed out, and I was like, is he okay? And then with the Harrigan's, there was like 7 people at a mic, and we were all just pretending to listen to each other, every mic. And then you went up, and I was like, oh, this guy's actually, like, he's funny. You see a lot of people just kind of come around just once, and you're like, oh, we'll never see that person again. But I was like, this guy's funny, and it seems like maybe it's just a level of comfort, but you're like, it seemed like it was kind of all like coming from the dome, and I was like, this guy seems like an interesting fella to see around. Like, I'd like to see him more, And then I just kind of disappeared and never saw you much. I think we just kind of going to different mics, and I started seeing you at the lodge, and I was like, oh yeah, so he's doing it. Good. Yeah.
That's okay. So I don't know what I'm sure I came off stressed. I'm sure of it. I was smoking CBD cigarettes because it was just an excuse to be around people. Like, I can see why people smoke. I can see why people smoke on a communal sense.
Yeah.
Because it's just like when you're standing out there and you're not doing anything, it feels kind of weird.
Yeah.
And where I'm from, what you would do is you would finish a mic and then you would smoke weed in the parking lot.
It's fun.
Yeah. And so I think I remember doing that initially just as an excuse to be around people. I don't know why I was stressed, but I'm sure I was for some reason. And I remember I don't remember that interaction. My first time remembering you was at it was at that hostel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'd never gone back, but it was at the hostel.
Yeah.
We were sitting in the living room area.
Yeah.
And I just remember talking to you and thinking, I remember thinking like, oh man, he's starting young. Good for him. and I remember thinking, oh, he seems nice. I like the cut of this guy's jib.
Thank you. That's kind. Yeah.
You just seemed like a nice person. And at that point, I still am trying to figure myself out here, but I was more fixated on other people. I don't know if you have this issue of comparison. Do you do that where you compare yourself?
Oh, yeah, we all do, yeah.
Oh, fuck, man. I'm mean about it.
Yeah.
Like, on a conscious level, I want you to do. When we go to mics, I want you to do well. I want everyone to do well, whatever.
Yeah.
But on a subconscious level, I'm like, I hope he fucking bombs. I hope he's not funnier than me.
That's what makes a lot of mics especially kill it. Because it's like if you don't do, I mean, I don't know what even doing well at a mic even means. But if you just are getting no reaction and like you're clearly trying some stuff and it's like it's not like a regular thing where it's like a show where it's like you can bomb and then no one will see you again, which is almost comfort in that. With mics, it's like you'll see all those people tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah,
it's like they're like,
yeah. And they heard about
yesterday. That was weird, wasn't it?
Your diaper joke really didn't go off very well. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That yes, and it's funny because when you pass that threshold, there's almost a deeper bond that can be connected.
Oh, of course.
And so I know what you mean there. And that comparison stuff is like I'm trying so hard and I'm getting past it. I'm doing much better at this, but it feel like, do you feel like you go off your intuition or logic more?
Intuition.
Yeah. Okay. So you more of the vibe, how people seem to be interacting with you. I do the same thing. And in terms of people liking me and disliking me, yes, Johnny Gold, I'm aware that it doesn't matter and fuck them. I'm aware. But it doesn't take away from the feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I go back and forth. How do I word this? That like, it feels like there are people that just really don't like me in this scene. And that bothers me. And it shouldn't, because it's like they got to get to know you, and that's why I made this podcast. Is like, this is just an excuse to get to know people.
Yeah.
Because at open mics, it feels like you're at work almost. Yeah. And I'm rambling, and I don't know where I'm going, but I do have a punctuation to this thought, and that is, from what I'm seeing or from what I feel, the people that seem to dislike me the most seem to be white women. Except for like Ariel
Julie.
Yeah, I love her. Yeah. I can't wait. I'm going to do the podcast with her. But
she's awesome.
Sometimes it feels like the white guys or the black men or the black women, Ariel Julie, like everybody in that realm seems to be fine with me. And I've run into this feeling where I always feel like, it feels like the white women in general out here as comedians don't like me. And I don't know why, and I don't even know why I brought that up now that we're here.
No, yeah, it's
the end.
It's a valid feeling. But I think, I mean, who am I to give anyone advice?
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, your friend, I agree with your friend. Yeah. What people say people probably like don't do stand-up comedy. Yeah. It's like there's always going to be people saying don't do that. Like, you just got to trust whatever you feel like is right. And maybe some people do hate you.
Yeah.
And you got to come to terms with that. It's like,
I think what it is, okay. I think what it is I remember, man, I sound like an old fuck. I remember being your age and saying and doing stuff that was stupid and immature and mean at times and like unnecessary, and people disliking me for very valid reasons. And so now when it happens, even though I'm actively working on myself and trying to not just leave people alone, not upset anybody, not just be me, when I get the vibe someone takes issue with me, I think to myself, did I do something out of pocket? Like, is their feeling towards me something I actually did? And I think that's what makes me feel some type of way about it. And last part of it is, because it does seem like a particular demographic, there's a consistency in that feeling. I'm like, there's something, I am the constant. And that's, I think, what's going on in my head movies. Okay. Mm-hmm. What are you?
No, I don't know if it's like I feel like most people kind of feel that to some extent, but it's like, Yeah, like when I first was doing mics here for a while, I felt the same exact thing. I thought everyone hated me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But just the more you're around, it's like you share more in common with most people who are doing comedy than you do with almost anyone.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, just being around and getting to know people is, you slowly see we're all kind of the same. We're all doing our thing, and the odds are people don't hate you.
Yeah.
And honestly, if they do, fuck up. Like it's just the way it is. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I agree. I'm gonna do a pushback because this is a podcast. When I think about that logic, part of me is like, yes. I'm like, yeah, fuck them. Fuck everybody. Fuck them all. Tupac. Blah. And then the other part of me thinks about the neo-Nazis that have been walking around these days being neo-Nazis who have this mentality of, yeah, fuck what everyone thinks and feels about me. And it's like, well, yeah, dude, but you're a neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
Like, Avi, like, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think what eats at me is...
But you never put your knee...
I did not put my knee on someone's neck for 8 minutes. No.
You were able to... That's where logic comes in. Did
Right.
you do something wrong? No.
Right.
So you can justify yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
Check yourself with that.
I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could look at things a bit more objectively. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
vibes aren't everything.
Right.
Maybe someone just didn't speak to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because unless you did do something wrong,
Yeah.
it's not really a valid reason to hate anyone. You know? It's
I agree.
yeah.
I'll keep you around. Make me feel good. We're nearing the end. I usually do about an hour.
Gotcha.
Any questions you have for me, man? Anything you're curious about? I don't know. I appreciate you doing this, by the way.
No, yeah, this has been a very fun time. This is like my first like real podcast, I'd say, where it's just talking. You know what I mean? Did I come off real weird and nervous at the beginning there?
The very beginning.
Oh Lord,
it's fine.
Fuck.
It was interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing your progression and seeing you get more comfortable on stage.
Yes.
And
do I?
Yeah.
Do you think I'm not comfortable?
No, not at all.
No, because that's like because I'm trying to circle it back to the beginning because I felt myself like stumbling there. I think it's wanting to control being seen. I feel like that's such a thing in comedy, and I don't know how it all connects, but just the I feel like a lot of time when I'm on stage, people seem like that guy's, especially at mics, where it's like that guy seems a bit uneasy.
My perception of it is it's gonna just take time to get on stage and be comfortable. Like, pat my own dick here. I don't know why my dick's on my back. But like when you saw me at Harrigan's, I don't know what the set was, but it sounds like I came off comfortable.
Yeah,
and it obviously, we're doing verbal magic. We're all telling jokes. There's setups and punchlines. But the comics that, in my opinion, do the best, the ones I've been watching specifically at the Laugh Factory, make it feel like this was not written.
Yeah.
And when you're on stage, I can tell like you are. Aging myself. Did you play Mario? Remember Mario?
Oh yeah, a bit. Yeah.
You know how like when you play it enough, you realize, oh, this is a pattern. I jump here, and then if I do this and I hit this box, then I'll jump here and I'll be safe. It feels like in your head when I watch you, that you have to jump here, and then you do this, and then you go here, and that is the punchline.
Yeah.
And that very mechanical vibe, it takes away from what's loose.
Yeah. I'm really trying to, because I get that. I've been told I have a very Mark Norman-esque vibe, where it's like maybe it's just who I am. Like it's just like I tell like kind of straight up jokes, but it is there's a balance to it, and I agree. Where it's like I would like to ideally have things feel more conversational and more loose.
Who is going to be a weird example for this is not Andrew Schultz. Andrew Schultz like top tier feeling comfortable on stage. But Anthony Jeselnik is clearly telling setups and punchlines. But even him, when he does his performances, it feels like it still feels loose. And I'm going to have to think on that, and I'll probably message you about it later. But I think you can even do that Mark Norman Jeselnik. He died from like heroin a while ago. Hedberg. Yeah. You can do that setup punchline. You can do that, and it still feels loose.
For sure. And
yeah.
Again, like it's comedy. We're all constantly, evolving and stuff. So it's like that's where I'm at. Like now, it's like a piece of me. I'd like to, become more idea oriented. Like Lou. That's why Lou is like my favorite. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know how to close on that, but it's like I'd like to become more idea oriented and less setup punchline. But
do you riff ever?
That's the thing. So if I get a few drinks in me, I have done that, and it's actually and it feels awesome.
Yeah.
It feels really cool where you're like, that just was straight from the dome, Yeah. But I don't want to rely on that because I feel like, I feel like it's hard to, I don't feel as like proud of myself if it's just like a riff. Like I'd rather feel like I'm putting together an act. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Like I just like having an act. Yeah.
Yes. I think riffing is just a skill that you can add into your
act.
Of
course. Yeah.
I think relying on it. Did you play basketball growing up?
No.
Oh, there was this phrase that you watched. You know how this sport
I know how
works.
basketball works.
There's this phrase that one of my coaches said when I was a kid. He said, if you live by the three, you die by the three.
Yeah.
Meaning this was in our young buck, like we all just want to make the most points and look cool.
Yeah. So
we're all trying to shoot these fucking crazy half court 3-pointers. And there was one guy who was really good at it. And I remember the coach being like, look, yes, you can. This is a skill, but if you live by this skill, then
things will change.
It's gonna fuck up for you eventually. Mm-hmm. You need to learn the other skills. What I would suggest is every time you do a set, in the very beginning, try to riff whatever happens right before, and then get into your material. This way, you get to practice that.
I've been doing that a bit more on shows now.
It's
fun.
Yeah,
when you're able to like address things that everyone's thinking.
Yeah.
That's fun. But it's hard to do that of course, it's like mics, you just feel...
Because comics know what you're doing.
Yeah. Like they're like, what do you, like, they see through everything.
Yeah, they're like, just do your jokes so I can go on stage.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see you evolve. I think...
Thank you. Yeah. You as well.
I think the more you do... I'm excited to see the loosening happen. Because I think it's going to happen eventually.
What if it doesn't?
There's only... Because eventually you're going to get bored, and you're going to want to do something different.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Who's to say?
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I agree.
Is there anybody you suggest I hit up to do this?
Yeah, there's a lot of names that come to mind.
Okay. You can say them now, or you can tell me later. It's up to you, man.
I think the Mad Labs gang, they'd probably do it.
Yeah.
There's a ton of names. I should probably just message you after.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
All right. Good night. Bye, Johnny Gold.
Bye, Johnny Gold.